In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks, we are live. This is not America Off the Rails. Sorry, I just did a special pre-record episode for Red State, so I am still in America Off the Rails mode. This is Finding Common Ground. I'm joined by Bryce Robbins, my normal liberal lefty co-host that drives me crazy, and then I have to listen to him rant and rave for an hour after this show. Good morning, Bryce. How are you?
I am good. How are you? You've had an interesting week.
It's been an interesting week. Lots of good things happening. We did our America Off the Rails did its official terrestrial launch on Thursday. It had an unofficial terrestrial launch on the same station on Wednesday, and then it actually aired overnight Friday morning, so about 1 o'clock Eastern time. So signed on for one show a week and got played 3 times. So I guess the guy over there must really, really like the show. Either that or he was desperate for content. I'm not sure which, and I'm not going to ask.
I think it went well for you. This week I had my first debate. Won first place. What else would I win?
A Cupid doll?
That's true. No, I'm just joking around. But so I had a good week as well, and I sent out my first college admissions. I submitted it. NYU early decision, so hopefully, fingers crossed.
In other words, you sent her, please, 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 please take me, like me, please, like me, please, 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 want to go here, please, 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 please. Yeah, been there, done that. Remember those days? They really sucked. It's got to be even harder now, though, because it's all pretty much, is it all basically electronic now?
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that. It was more like, please, please, please take me into debt. Please take me into debt.
Well, more you know. What would be the fun in life if you didn't start out owing at least $300,000 by the time you graduate college? I mean, come on.
Yeah, right? It gives you no challenge, no hole to get out of.
Yeah, well, you know. I know you're all about the free college thing. I get that. But, yeah, let me just clue you in on something you'll understand much more when you get older. Nothing in life is free. As an example, the wife and I were going and looking at new furniture. And, you know, there's this local group that shall remain nameless because they actually gave us a really good deal. But they advertise all the time that, you know, you buy certain sets of furniture, you get a free TV. Well, turns out the TV ain't free. It's just built into the price. They just don't tell you that. Because we got much better furniture at a much lower price and did not get a free TV. Just saying.
But it's free.
No, it's not free. Somebody has to pay for it. That's the thing that
that's free.
Nobody wants to talk about with Bernie Sanders and his crazy pie-in-the-sky ideas. Somebody's got to pay for it all.
No, he talks about it. He says that Wall Street's going to pay for it.
And then what happens when Wall Street gives him the burden? They just all change jobs, and then we don't have a stock market anymore. And since we're an investment economy now, what happens?
Well, it's not really based on that. It's based on the bulk trade, on how much money is moved, which is gajillions of dollars, which is currently untaxed. I mean, I think they could afford a little bit of tax. These people make billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it's not even talked about.
Here's the problem with that, though. Once you start taxing something like that, it never stops. And eventually, granted, it may be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years down the road, eventually you are going to run out of other people's money. And then you're going to have folks that are starving in the streets because we decided we needed our government to take care of us instead of relying on ourselves.
All right, let me actually read you this quote. I thought it would be a good thing to talk about on the show, and it's kind of a perfect place to start it. We can agree that you cannot have socialism without capitalism, or it becomes communism. But you cannot have capitalism without socialism, or it becomes fascism. What do you think?
I think if we would get away from the socialistic tendencies and the crony capitalistic tendencies and actually let the free market work, everybody would be a lot better off in the long run.
I can agree with that, but don't you think that crony capitalism is a product of an overly free market?
No, I think the exact opposite. Crony capitalism comes into play when the government starts trying to reach in and make changes to a capitalist society, and the capitalists react, so they start pushing lobbyists and everybody else on everybody to try to keep things the way they want them. And then it becomes a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours scenario, which has now led to crony capitalism. Has nothing to do with the free market. Has more to do with government overreach and a very overbearing reaction to governmental overreach.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little product of both. I could definitely see where you're definitely right. I mean, we could give the example of how GE donated, millions of dollars to the Obama campaign, and now he's the head of GE's on the head of the Jobs Commission or whatever it is. But I could also see where the overly free market, which dominates, because eventually that's what will that's what happens. You have certain products which end up just dominating over the others, coming out on top, and then pressing government for their goods or services. Which makes me nervous.
I'm not going to say there doesn't have to be a happy medium somewhere, but I'm saying at this point, with everything that's happened in the news this week and the fact that Hillary Clinton has managed to basically go through that entire hearing unscathed, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think at this point, since Biden has decided not to run, I think it pretty much exemplifies the fact that she's going to come through this pretty much unscathed. I don't think at this point she has the people's confidence At least I hope not, which is still going to probably prop up Bernie by the time it's all said and done. So there's a really good shot that we're going to have Biff from Back to the Future and Doc Brown on the same stage running for president in a few months, and that kind of terrifies me.
Well, what terrifies you more, Clinton or Sanders, to be quite honest? I actually have an interesting story I'll tell you depending on your answer, or actually I'll just tell it anyway, but what's your theory?
Well, I mean, honestly, they both terrify me, but the simple fact of the matter is, after seeing what happened when we elected a closed-door socialist, which was Obama, you know, the guy that in front of cameras told everybody, no, I'm not a fan of single-payer healthcare, and then behind closed doors said the exact opposite. If we elect an openly democratic socialist-type person, I think this country's toast. I mean, let's face it, Hillary's unstable. I don't want her having access to the button even more than I want Trump having access to the button. But Bernie scares me for different reasons, because if he gets the nomination, then that truly means that a vast majority of our population have shifted their mindset to the point where they think the government is best suited to be the ones that take care of them. The government can't even operate the post office. And we have a vast segment of our population that thinks the government needs to take care of them. That's not what this country was founded on. So the fact that he's filling up stadiums and really resonating with so many people terrifies me about just how deeply and fundamentally the belief system in this country has shifted. I'm about to be a dinosaur, and I'm fully well aware of the fact that I'm probably about to be a dinosaur. But I wouldn't be doing all of the things that all of you guys know about behind the scenes if I thought the government needed to take care of me, because I am legitimately one of these guys that could be sitting at home collecting a paycheck and eating Pringles, but I will not be that guy. I cannot be that guy, and it disturbs me that so much of our population has become that guy. And so much so that now they're elevating a guy that says, hey, vote for me and we'll take a lot of money from the rich and make sure you get more Twinkies. I have a problem with that. And no, I know, before you start yelling, I know he never actually said Twinkies, but come on.
No, I definitely agree with a lot of what you just said, and I believe it. And, I'm one of those weird liberals who has flip-floppy views. But I actually was recently talking to a teacher of mine, and he's a very, very moderate, even more so probably right Republican. He always makes the joke that he is like the standard. His views haven't changed, but the parties have. So the Democrats have gotten more liberal, the Republicans have gotten more right-wing. He's staying in the center. He identifies, I think, more as a Republican. Last election, he voted for Mitt Romney. But I asked him, what do you think about this election? And he said that he actually is considering Bernie Sanders, because not what he is preaching, because he doesn't believe that a lot of that can actually get done. But the key principle that our political system is so corrupted with money that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't make sense to vote for somebody who's going to continue the political system the way it is. So whether or not you agree with Bernie or not, what he stands for on campaign finance reform is and how he points out that it's the undermining issue in our democracy. That alone makes him the greatest candidate, because in all honesty, we don't have debate anymore. The filibuster, radicalized Republicans and the leftist liberals, they don't debate. And I think that is the biggest problem. I mean, I'm a debater. I love being on debate team, debating issues. I think we can come to better, we can come to better solutions when we argue, when we debate. And the sheer fact of the matter that John Boehner doesn't bring important, climate change, poverty bills, jobs bills to the floor, I mean, it's not even given an opportunity to save America money or create jobs. And I think that is so important about Bernie Sanders, is that he genuinely wants to get the money out of politics to stop swaying politics. Because when we can do that, then I think the money will flow even better into what we were talking about before, into a freer market.
Yeah, but see, you and I have different perspectives when it comes to climate change, because I will tell you that as a steward of the planet, I should do my part to make sure that I'm taking care of the planet and trying to make it better for my children. But where I start having personal problems and personal issues when it comes to the whole climate change movement is when I start reading the stories about the CO2 scrubbers that they're going to start deploying in a couple of countries here and there to try to see if they can bring the CO2 levels lower. I have problems with that because we don't understand enough about what our actual impact on that is to start putting mechanical devices in there that suck out the things that trees and plants need to breathe. If anything, if you want to start trying to normalize CO2 levels, then please, by all means, plant more trees and plants and everything else, and then let nature decide what it needs and what it doesn't. But don't start using electronics and mechanical devices to do things that trees are supposed to do, because eventually, if we're not careful, it's a very delicate balance, and I understand why that makes folks that are all climate changey and, oh my God, the whole world's going to end because everything's changed by half a degree. I understand the delicate balance that is our planet. I really do, because I look at it every day and I marvel at the fact that we are in this perfect place where life can thrive and grow and be plentiful and all of the above. And I won't get into the rest of that because, you know, in the direction it's about to go. So that's a story for another station that I haven't launched yet. But at the same time, when we start doing things, when we start doing man-made things to throw off what we claim is man-made climate change without understanding enough what our actual implications are, I'm afraid that we may take things too far in the other direction, and then all of a sudden we turn into the fact that there's not enough carbon dioxide and suddenly too much oxygen. Does anybody remember what happens when pure oxygen reaches fire?
Yeah, it ignites. But
I'm just saying, you know, we're complaining about the balance going one way, so now we're going to start doing things to try to push the balance the other way, and again, not fully understanding what our actual impacts are. The simple fact of the matter is we don't know enough. There are too many conflicting stories about what climate change is and what causes it and everything else. And that's my problem, because you can find studies that support pretty much any argument for climate change. So how do you know which one's the right one?
Wait, but Rick, hang on. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. We're getting the opportunity to debate a topic, right? And we can agree that we need to be great stewards of the planet. So right there, we can find our area of agreement and we can take action on the issue. But because big money is backing so many politicians, you're automatically going to say, no, we need to pollute because it creates jobs and this and that. And I would say, no, because I'm funded by these guys and you're funded by those guys. And it destroys what the people need. The people need clean air. The people need clean water. And we can agree on that as two human beings. But when there's money behind us, we don't agree anymore. And I think that's the problem that Bernie Sanders is highlighting so much, is that it's the money in the politics that we need to get rid of.
I understand what you're saying, but you're coming at this from the complete perspective that, you know, if you're anti-climate change, then automatically you're for pollution.
No, not at all, not at all.
Well, that's basically what you just said.
No. I was saying that donators and funders are going to promote people who already don't believe in climate change to just be pro-business, polluting or whatever, so that it was an exaggeration of an answer, but it's definitely just to highlight how money affects people's decision-making.
Okay, well, maybe I misunderstood, but anyway, so, at this point, all I can say is, you know, that's one of the things that honestly scared me, because I think it was actually you that showed me the article about all of a sudden we're going to start deploying CO2 scrubbers. I'm just, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this is a really, really bad idea, because if we start using machines to do what plants are supposed to do, then what happens to the plants?
Yeah, I don't understand why we just don't stop cutting down so many trees. We've cut down 50% of the world's trees in the last 100 years. So we definitely need to stop doing it. It is totally and utterly stupid.
But here's the thing that your side doesn't want to take into account. For pretty much every single tree that gets cut down, 3 get put in its place.
But how many germinate? It's like 0.5. The problem is that it's the seed. And in some cases it's even baby trees. But it takes 50 years for trees to grow to be, the tree that was once there. That is the problem, that we don't live sustainably. Ecosystems, environments, habitats are destroyed for paper that could be made out of a hemp bush.
Okay, well, that I'll agree with you on. I think that, honestly, and this is another example of corporations basically turning something into a crony capitalist point. Because all of a sudden when polyester was invented, hemp, all of a sudden there were all kinds of polyester lobbyists. I mean, I think that we could do away with a lot of the things that are causing people issues environmentally if the government would just, I mean, I'm not even talking about marijuana. Legalize hemp, for God's sake. It was used in the military for centuries. It's still used to make their ropes that they use because it's one of the strongest materials on the planet. Why can civilians not have the ability to use that to make their clothing, or the plastics that can be made from hemp?
You know why? Because the paper lobby is so strong.
But that's what I don't. See, and I understand where you're coming from, but as a guy who's in the middle of trying and is actually slowly, successfully building a business, because let's face it, at this point, that's pretty much what this is. The first thing I always try to do, and you can ask the folks that listen to the show regularly and talk to me in the different chat rooms that we have available and everything else. The first thing I do is I look for other people that have the same ideas I have, but are coming at it from a different perspective. And I find folks that have things to contribute. And I say, look, if you help me, then I will help you. So what I don't understand from a business perspective is why the paper lobbyists and the polyester guys, instead of, all of a sudden deciding this was the only way that we could go, why didn't they start putting some of their money into those other products? Because, I don't understand the mindset. I really don't. And I think that's starting to be my problem overall with all of it, and coming to the realization that when it comes right down to it, there really is no distinction between either party anymore. And what happened with Eddie Munster this week pretty much confirmed it with me. But I know there was something that you definitely wanted to talk about, and we've already burned almost half the show.
You want to go to break then?
Nah, it's a little early for that.
All right, so let's keep going. No, I mean, I definitely just, I like that we can come at an issue and agree. And I fear as though in our political system we've lost this ability. And again, this brings me back to my Sanders point as to why he, to me, is the best candidate, because he stands on that core value. That whether or not he says we should have single payer, and I don't necessarily agree with that, I definitely can understand that he has the best solution to campaign finance, which is publicly funded elections, I would say. Because if we assume that corporations are people, it opens the doors for so much fraudulence almost. I mean, Republicans always tout about voter fraud. I think this is election fraud. Having billions, and this isn't just Republicans, so I remove myself from that last point I just made, because it's also Democrats as well. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton's just after Benghazi, the hearing.
No, but I mean, yeah, let's be honest. It's happening on both sides, but that's the problem. There is no distinction between the parties anymore. And look, I'm sorry, there are too many things that are completely sideways in Bernie Sanders' head for me to say, yeah, he's the guy that's going to get my vote because he wants to fix campaign finance reform. Because that's not going to happen.
But how do you fix anything else if you don't fix that?
Because it doesn't matter, because it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to allow him to fix that. If the fact that look, and this is coming at it from my perspective, if the fact that a conservative majority in both houses cannot get a conservative speaker in that position does not make you understand that at this point none of the government is working in our best interest, then you're not paying attention. Bernie Sanders is not going to be able to change that, and the only thing that he is going to do is send a clear message to everyone who wants America to become socialist that now is their time. And that is why no matter what, I cannot and I will not pull the lever for this guy, not to mention the fact that if I ever do become one of these one of these top 1, 2, 3% that he's always wailing about. I don't want him any more in my pocketbook than he's already gonna be. Because that's my point. You're looking at a lot of your, and by you, I don't mean you specifically, I mean your side of the aisle looks at this as if it's already predetermined that nobody in America can ever make any more money than they're already making. If anything, I hope I am slowly proving to you that that premise is false. It may take me a while to get there, but damn it, I'm getting there. And when I get there, I don't want the government any more in my pocket than they already are. Because I will take care of what I need to take care of on my own and take care of the people that need taken care of on my own. I don't need their help.
So what do you think, honestly, then the solution is? Because the government, I agree with you, has become oversized, overbloated, and really out of whack. How do we fix that? Wouldn't you agree that campaign finance reform is that key? I mean, if we could fix that, it would fix...
But so you fix it by putting a socialist in office. How does that fix anything else that's broken?
No, somebody who says we need a revolution, a political revolution to overthrow an establishment of constant money.
Who is a democratic socialist? You keep letting that point go. We cannot let that point go.
He believes in a free market, just taking care of people better.
No, I'm sorry. I do not buy the premise that a democratic socialist believes in a free market. That is male bovine excrement, and you and I both know it. He does not believe in a free market. Someone who believes in a free market cannot look at you and say, I'm sorry, I understand your pain. We're going to take some money from this guy over here who's worked his tail off to get where he is and make sure that you're taken care of. That is not what this country was founded for. I understand the need for social safety nets. But they have, much like capitalism is being warped into crony capitalism, they are no longer safety nets, they are spider webs, and they are that way by design, because the government wants you dependent on them, because the more dependent you are on them, the less reliant you are on yourselves, and then all they have to do, and this has been proven now in the last 2 election cycles, is offer you more free crap and you vote for whoever they tell you to.
So here's a question that I don't get then, because I agree with a lot of what you say, but if we don't want a big government, then why do we want a big, military that's so dominant and just follows the president's orders like a hit team?
Okay, well, hang on, no, again, this goes back to the conversation that you and I have had on previous shows. I am not an advocate of the fact that America had, up until President Obama was elected, become Team America World Police. I did not support that idea. That decision was made well before I was born. The problem is someone else made that decision. So once that decision was made, we had no choice. Because look at what's happening now that we're trying to pull back from being Team America World Police. We are elevating Putin, for God's sake, to the point where he is now the dominant force in the Middle East. That is bad. That is very, very bad. Do some research on Putin if you haven't yet. He grew up and cut his teeth in KGB Russia. He was a KGB operative who is now basically holding on to power behind the scenes, doing all kinds of things that we never want to know that he's done. And I'm telling you that from a perspective of which I understand, because I have done some of the things that he's talking about for the that he's done, but only for the private sector. I understand what you have to do to be able to get dirt on people to make sure that your clients get what they want. And I understand how much worse that is from a government perspective. So I know there are things that he has done that we're never going to want to know, or the entire world would basically just look at him like he was a three-headed monster, which in reality he probably is. But since we
steal like $200 billion from the Russian welfare system,
among other things, but that's my whole point. We are giving an egomaniacal maniac the world stage because we decided we don't want it anymore. And by we,
Trump.
I mean Obama.
I honestly believe this can all be solved by one thing. And do you know what that is, Rick?
Taking a break? No, I'm just kidding.
Before we do that, I think it can all be solved by Chafee 2016.
Yeah, we'll talk about Chafee when we come back in a minute, because I just have to ask, who are you supporting next? Because everybody you support drops out. So who's next on your hit list, brother? All right,
I never actually supported the Chafester.
We will be right back here in just a couple minutes, folks. We have got to pay some bills. We're a little bit over the top of the hour.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
The internet. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Wow! Good God, y'all! What is it good for? Absolutely! Get started again.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hungover from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rail. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Wounded Warrior Project provides these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence at no cost for life. So now it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Join us at findwwp.org.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Finding Common Ground. I'm Rick Robinson, joined by my normal lefty co-host, Mr. Bryce Robbins. And for the last about 20 minutes, Bryce has been making the case that he feels that Bernie Sanders is the last best hope for America, to which the only reply that I can give him is...
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts?
Just saying. All right, so before we went to break, I did promise that Bryce was going to get to talk about Lincoln Chafee today, and he has a sound clip that he wants to play. Let me know when you're ready, Bryce, I guess.
So, for the past, couple months, I've been trying to get Lincoln Chafee onto Opinion Nation, and I've been in contact with his scheduler, and she's always said, we'll work something out, whatever, but obviously we never did, and perhaps this is the reason he was so unpopular. People on Opinion Nation never got to hear his voice. So, I would like to dedicate this one to Lincoln Chafee, if you could play the clip.
Now, as you may know, I've been campaigning on a platform of prosperity through peace. But after much thought, I have decided to end my campaign for the president today. Thank you. But I would like to take this opportunity one last time to advocate for a chance be given to peace. Since today is all about women's leadership, it reminds me of one of my favorite Greek plays, Lysistrata, a comedy from 400 BC by Aristophanes. Now, in that play, a group of women, fed up with the warmongering of their husbands, agree to, and how do I say this appropriately, withhold their favors until peace returns. And it worked. They ended the Peloponnesian Wars. Well, anyway, let's talk about the present.
All right, so that was Lincoln Chafee announcing that he's no longer running after his terribly awkward and weird debate performance. Rick, what did you think about his performance here, though?
Kind of the same. Awkward and weird.
I mean, to me, I feel like Lincoln Chafee's the type of person I would want on my cabinet. But performing in front of people, he's not very good. I feel like he's a very smart man, though.
Well, I mean, you know, a good comparison, I think, between the two would be, and all of a sudden his name escapes me, Governor Perry. Because on debate stages, he is terrible. But from folks that I know from talk that have actually gotten a chance to sit down and interview him and talk, and cogent people that you will ever meet when he's not on a debate stage.
Do you know what the third thing he wanted to get rid of was?
I don't remember.
That was awkward.
I mean, and I'm a firm believer that if he hadn't tried to rush it and ran in 2012, he probably would have, or tried to run in 2012, I think he probably would have had a much better performance this go round. But the issue is, he tried to do it too early. I mean, there is such a thing as timing, and the issue is his timing was off because they weren't ready for him in 2012, and they'd already seen him completely screw it up because he wasn't ready in 2012. So America was like, I'm not even sure why you're trying again, but yay for you. Go sit down. Which I think is basically what the Democrats just said to Lincoln Chafee. Just sit down. Go home. You're done.
Basically. You know what really scares me, though? I mean, we make fun of these people, and SNL really determines who's going to be politically successful these days. But how almost like psychics Mitt Romney was and Sarah Palin were when they said Russia was going to be the next geopolitical foe, and Obama laughed at that. That scares me.
Yeah, and actually, I kind of, as that started unfolding, I actually put together a clip about that, which I think I actually have it. Hang on. I don't remember.
Because let's be real, I mean, we heard Mitt Romney say Russia's our biggest geopolitical foe, and Obama said, are you living in the 1980s, the Cold War era?
Oh, hang on. You know, I have it. It's a bit of a long clip, but I'm going to go ahead and run it, because
right, yeah,
I put a lot of work into this one, so I like to recycle it when I can.
Go for it.
Since we went there, well, it's pretty long. I have to wait for it to queue up. It's still loading. There we go. All right. Here we go.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back, because the Cold War's been over for 20 years. But
not
Governor,
anymore.
When it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s. You say that you're not interested in duplicating what happened in Iraq, but just a few weeks ago you said you think we should have more troops in Iraq right now. And the challenge we have, I know you haven't been in a position to actually execute foreign policy, but every time you've offered an opinion, you've been wrong. You said we should have gone into Iraq, despite the fact that there were no weapons of mass destruction. You said that we should still have troops in Iraq to this day. You indicated that we shouldn't be passing nuclear treaties with Russia, despite the fact that 71 senators, Democrats and Republicans, voted for it. You've said that, first, we should not have a timeline in Afghanistan. Then you said we should. Now you say maybe, or it depends, which means not only were you wrong, but you were also confusing and sending mixed messages both to our troops and our allies. So what we need to do with respect to the Middle East is strong, steady leadership, not wrong and reckless leadership that is all over the map. And unfortunately, that's the kind of opinions that you've offered throughout this campaign, and it is not a recipe for American strength or keeping America safe over the long
I'm going to add a couple of minutes here to give you a chance to respond.
Well, of course, I don't concur with what the president said about my own record and the things that I've said. They don't happen to be accurate. But I can say this, that we're talking about the Middle East and how to help the Middle East reject the kind of terrorism we're seeing and the rising tide of tumult and confusion. And attacking me is not an agenda. Attacking me is not talking about how we're going to deal with the challenges that exist in the Middle East and take advantage of the opportunity there and stem the tide of this violence. But I'll respond to a couple of things you mentioned. First of all, Russia, I indicated, is a geopolitical foe. Excuse me, it's a geopolitical foe. And I said in the same paragraph, I said, and Iran is the greatest national security threat we face. Russia does continue to battle us in the UN time and time again. I have clear eyes on this. I'm not going to wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to Russia or Mr. Putin. And I'm certainly not going to say to him, I'll give him more flexibility after the election. After the election, he'll get more backbone.
After the Russian army invaded the nation of Georgia, Senator Obama's reaction was one of indecision and moral equivalence, the kind of response that would only encourage Russia's Putin to invade Ukraine next. To invade Ukraine next.
To invade Ukraine next.
Hello and good morning to you. It is Saturday, the 1st of March, 2014. I'm Anna Koyman. A Fox News alert. Crisis in Ukraine. Russian troops roar into the country, blocking roads and airports. And this morning, new reports that they are seizing control of missile bases. The latest on the tense situation straight ahead.
That Russian forces have stormed into the strategic region of Crimea. Now, this as President Obama is warning.
We are now deeply concerned by reports of military movements taken by the Russian Federation inside of Ukraine. Russia has a historic relationship with Ukraine, including cultural and economic ties, and a military facility in Crimea. But any violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity would be deeply destabilizing. When you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
All right, so the preceding clip was brought to you by the letter O, as in for the Obama administration, otherwise known as the folks that have brought you Cold War 2.0. Just saying.
I mean, in all honesty, I believe that Russia and the United States won't have issues because of our interdependence on economically, especially Russia's on us, not really as much us on Russia. And we benefit more so when we don't have economic sanctions on one another. So I really highly doubt we will ever see a hot war. Cold war, perhaps. Hot war, no. But we really have a big problem because Putin is trying to flex his muscles and bring the Soviet Union back to what it once was. And that scares me a lot.
It doesn't just scare you, brother, and that's part of the problem. But let's focus in on something that was kind of mentioned in there that nobody's really talked about. There's a spot about 30 seconds in there in the middle of Romney's response where he mentions that Iran, let me get technical, is the biggest national security threat that we face. I'm going to say he nailed that one too. Months ahead of time. Just saying.
I mean, I think they were still a pretty big threat back then.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, Obama laughed it off. And now here we are again months and months down the road, and we're looking at the fact that, despite the fact that during the vice presidential debate, crazy Uncle Joe told the whole world, oh, there's no way that Iran is that close to having a nuclear weapon because we would know. And yet the whole reason for these now peace talks is because they're moments away from a nuclear weapon, and by having these peace talks, we're supposedly delaying the inevitable of them getting a nuclear weapon. So which one were we lied to in 2012, or are we being lied to now? Because both statements can't be true.
Very, very true. Indeed. And we really haven't talked about Benghazi yet.
No, we haven't, but I have clips for Kankles. Give me a second.
Okay, please. We can't honestly fulfill this episode if we don't mention Benghazi. I mean...
Oh, I know. To you, it's no big deal, but yeah, it's kind of important to me, so... Keep it up.
What? No. It is a huge deal. Because I know that there are a lot of people listening, and they need to know that I'm not a moron liberal who is okay with Benghazi. I think it's a huge issue.
So while I'm queuing up the clips, why don't you explain to folks why you think it's a huge issue? So we can all point and laugh at you later. No, I'm just playing.
I think it's a huge issue because what we're being told here is it's another case, and we've had it under Ronald Reagan and the Iranian-Contra, and we've had it with Colin Powell, and we've had this time and time again where a politician breaks the rules, people die as a result, people are hurt as a result, something happens as a result, and it's laughed off. I don't think Benghazi is a funny issue here. I mean, she is literally laughing during the hearing. And to me, that's sick. Her email scandal, that's a pretty big deal. And let me just say something for the record. And I think the only person who has the balls to say it is Donald Trump, so excuse my French. I would love to see a woman president. I think it would show a lot about how this nation has come very, very far. But Hillary Clinton being the first woman president, she is not the upstanding woman that I would want to see have the honor to be the first female. She does not represent women's, rise in America. She stayed with a adulterous husband her entire life, and for what I and most others think is just for the name Clinton. She is not in any way qualified to be the president of the United States just because of her job title. If you got fired for your job, doesn't mean you're qualified. I mean, it'd be that she didn't get fired, but her time, everywhere she's gone, we have conflict now. Every country she's been in has been ruined. I mean, Hillary Clinton is a politician who panders to the people, and that's it. She was for the TPP, she's against the TPP. She was against gay marriage, she's for gay marriage. I mean, it doesn't stop. It's sick. It really is. And her attitude towards Benghazi and towards her emails is like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, don't worry about it. But the sheer fact of the matter is she lied to the American people, quite like her husband. She's withheld thousands and thousands of emails, which we know nothing about. And to top it all off, it's amazing how no one on my side cares. But when something like Bridgegate happens with Chris Christie, everyone's in a freaking frenzy. It's an issue. So, Rick, whenever you're ready with those clips, I mean, I've ranted enough.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned the laughter, so let's open with that one.
The chair will now recognize the gentle lady from Alabama, Miss Roby.
Secretary Clinton, I want to follow up on questions about the night of the attack and decisions made then. You wrote in your book, Hard Choices, that you were directing the State Department response the night of September 11th, 2012, but you also stated that you left your office on the night of the attacks and went to your home in Northwest Washington because you said you knew the next few days were going to be taxing and the department was going to be looking to you. I want to talk about a few things. Do you have a SCIF in your home?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and who else was at your home? Were you alone?
I was alone, yes.
The whole night?
Well, yes, the whole night.
Well, I don't know why that's funny. I mean, did you have any in-person briefings? I don't find it funny.
I know why it's funny, but it's only because she's a dirty-minded old battle axe. But that's there's like
what is a SCIF?
Secure phone.
Oh, interesting.
It's a military acronym for a secure form of communication, most commonly referred to as a cell phone with a scrambler. So it is typically called a SCIF.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, so you heard the cackle. And she actually did that cackle more than once during the hearing. And everybody that is on your side of the aisle is like, well, of course she was laughing. It's laughable. She's been up in front of these people now twice, and this one went on for 11 hours. None of this is laughable. But let me tell you where my side screwed the pooch. When they allowed the guy that thought he was going to be the next Speaker of the House, McCarthy, to go on a nationally syndicated show and talk about how this was all about tanking Hillary's numbers. That's not what any of this should have been about. I don't know, honestly, if it was or if it wasn't. But that's not what it should have been about. And that's where we lost a good portion of the American people that actually did still want to know what happened and why in Benghazi, was because we allowed some nozzle to go on TV and say, look what we've done. Look at Hillary's numbers. Oh, I'm going to be the next speaker. Oh, crap, I resigned. Never mind. I mean, look, it's asinine. And this is the thing that I have talked to with folks that are now out of the military, still in the military, and this is the thing that they've always had in the back of their mind up until now. No matter what happens, as long as I'm on the field of battle, if something happens, I know I'm not going to get left behind, because we don't do that. That changed on that day. For every single person in a uniform, now they have in the back of their mind, if I get called up, if I have to go in, is somebody going to come get me if it goes sideways? Because we're proving time and time again that these people do not matter. And what annoys me about all of it is even if you get past all of this, the folks that were relieved of duty because they wanted to disregard the stand-down orders, and their junior officers right below them said, no, you can't do that, so you're relieved. That story broke in 3 separate places for 2 different people that were saying, screw it, these are our people, I'm going in anyway. And then they were relieved of duty. But leave all of that aside for a second, because what's happening now is the military is basically being trained to treat the people that have fought, bled, and died for this country the same way we treat them when they come home. Which is, yeah, give all the folks that are illegally coming over the border all the free crap they want. Leave the vets that have PTSD and everything else waiting and starving and can't get health care, and half of them are living in cardboard boxes. So it's further proof that our society is sliding more and more away from the things that we should be standing for, and the fact that nobody, and I mean nobody, outside of a handful of people is honestly really interested in finding out what happened about Benghazi and is more worried about using it for political gains, is just further proof that our entire country has completely gone insane.
I agree.
All right.
That got that.
But yeah, so we got about 2-3 minutes left. I do want to at least touch on Paul Ryan, otherwise known as Eddie Munster, because, he's put out all these demands about what he was going to do if they wanted him to be speaker, and I have actually had some pretty deep disagreements with fellow conservatives over Paul Ryan. I think he's the worst possible choice, and the fact that both Boehner and Reid support him as speaker gives me all the proof that I need that he's the last guy that we need. Just saying.
So you don't want Paul Ryan?
No, I don't want Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan will be an extension of Boehner, and Boehner has not been able to get anything done. This is what I think should be happening, and this is what used to happen when there were majorities. What used to happen is the majority got to have their votes, they got to put things up in front of the president, and the president either signed them or vetoed them. That doesn't happen anymore, no matter who has the majority. But this is my point. What Boehner should have done is that exact same thing. All of these people ran telling the American people, if you vote for me, then I will fix the things that have not been fixed for the past several years. And then we give them a majority, a pretty solid majority, and they do nothing with it. What they should be doing, and what an actual conservative speaker should be doing for the remainder of Obama's term, is putting everything that the American people told them they wanted, obviously, or they wouldn't have voted for them, on the president's desk. Even if he vetoes it, who cares? No, they may not be able to override the veto, but at least at the end of the day, they can come back to the American people and say, these are the things that we tried to get passed, they didn't pass. Instead of, oh, we're not going to do anything because we can't get anybody to agree for more than 30 seconds. That's not how government is supposed to work. It's not majority rule, but it is once the votes are cast. the folks are still supposed to do what the folks that voted for them put them there to do. And everybody that got elected on the conservative side were elected because the conservatives said, look, this is not the direction we want the country to go in. Obamacare is not what we were told it was going to be. Nobody got to keep their doctor. Nobody got to keep their plan. Nobody's saving money. So we need to do something to fix that. We've had Benghazi. The scandals are so many at this point, I can't even keep up with them all. Benghazi. And I don't know. There's like a whole friggin' list that I can't think of right now, but we're almost out of time anyway. But that's the whole point. They have done nothing. So no, I don't want Paul Ryan as Speaker, because then we're still going to do nothing. Except for, oh, look at me. I'm Speaker of the House now. Maybe I should do something about the little kowtow I have sticking down off my forehead that makes me look like Eddie Munster. And yes, I'm being bitter right now. But I really don't like the guy. I didn't like him when he ran with Romney because of the fact that he let Crazy Uncle Joe walk all over him in the VP debate. Because everybody knew Crazy Uncle Joe was lying. Why else would they be pushing for an Iran deal or even start to talk about it back then? Unless Crazy Uncle Joe was lying. But Romney's camp caught him and Obama in lies and did nothing with either one of them. Because they decided that they thought they had it sewn up and they were going to try to take the high road.
Who's your ideal candidate for Speaker?
I honestly don't have one at the moment. I think one that would be pretty good at it would probably be Louis Gohmert, because he is conservative, but he's not like holy crap tinfoil hat conservative. One that I would have liked to have seen as Speaker until I got to know him a little better. First blush was Gowdy, but I don't think he would do a good job either because he's too much of an ideologue. I mean, we've got to have somebody who's willing to be middle of the road, but they've still got to do the things that the American people need them to do. And I mean, Paul Ryan has the intestinal fortitude of SpongeBob SquarePants, so it's just not going to happen.
I love SpongeBob SquarePants.
So do I, but have you ever seen him stand up to anybody?
No.
That's kind of my point. All right, well, we are pretty much out of time, so we have got to get out of here to make room for your show so I can find my earplugs. And
all right, sounds good.
All right, so that is going to do it for this particular episode of Finding Common Ground. We'll be right back with you next week. For those of you that like the liberal point of view, hang around, because here in a couple of minutes, my co-host here will be taking center stage and making my eardrums bleed for the next 60-ish minutes.
Perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer.
He already dropped out. Give it up.